Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming on to our next Science Hour. So it's a delight to welcome Pablo. He's taking a small break from his very busy schedule, by the sounds of it, to tell us all about how to find data more easily on ESGF and elsewhere, maybe. So Pablo, over to you.
Thanks, Malcolm. I have some echo. I think I'm lower down my volume. Okay, well, I'll go on. So the idea for today is to first give you an overview of what ESGF is, what you can find there, and then we improvise a little bit and we do some demonstration basically of what of how we can download some data, and you can even give me specific ideas for what to download, what to look for, and we do it together. It should be pretty straightforward, so you can even try on your own, and then if you're having problems with anything, we can discuss them directly as we go. And in that way, anyone that is looking at the tutorial later on in the video would have the problem solved, hopefully solved. I'm not a super expert. I mean, I've been using it for a while, navigating through the portals and being able to download things on my own. I think we could try to see. So let's go. Well, as you know, we are an European project, and it's good to have this already here to make it clear and to acknowledge the funders. And okay, the ESGF. ESGF stands for Earth System Grid Federation, and this is an international collaboration, and the main purpose is to develop an infrastructure that allows to share data from very important projects in the climate community, like the Climate Model Intercomparison Project and in its different phases, and allowing to disseminate the data in a really clean way, and the infrastructure itself has been developed and improved over the years, and you're going to see actually two versions of the interface. You'll be able to judge how it's improved, and you can find data from, I didn't even know SIMIF3 was there, from the previous phase 5 and the 6, and also input for MIPS, that was the data that was produced to be able to run some of the experiments from the Climate Model Intercomparison Project, and also ops for MIPS are the observations that are relevant for all these experiments and initiatives. So all of them is there. You can find it there. You can download the data there. And I'll be giving an example of how to use it for SIMIP6 because it's what's more relevant now. If you remember the title, there was pre-EERIE simulations mentioned. And those are experiments that were done within HIRES-MIP. That is one of the initiatives within SIMIP6. And that's why I'm going to be focused on SIMIP6. Anyone interested could be looking at SIMIP5 even, and to see, for example, how models that were even at lower resolution were performing in the past. It's up to you. But it should work in the same way, basically. And well, the mission, I don't want to bore you with all the details, but the main idea is that it's mostly an infrastructure. There is a portal, and then there are different contributors that are that have their own node where they share the data, and this is not necessarily relevant for you. You might not even care for it, because the data, once you ask the data to be downloaded, it's gonna look for the node that has it available, and then you can download it without having to choose it on your own. But there are some specific cases, and we'll see one of them in which you might need to care for it. So well, we'll get there. Maybe to finalize the introduction on the ESGF, and these are some of the main partners. Quite a few in the US, like NASA, NOAA. In Europe, we also have IPSL, which was big developer actually. And we have some actually that are either partnered or directly related to EERIE, and the Max Planck, BSc DKRZ, and the Center for Environmental Data Analysis. They all have their own node, and they are all big contributors. So you can see that EERIE is well placed here, and yeah. Here you have the sponsors and partners, and I don't have the map, but then there is the contributors with data. You don't need, and it's also quite a few of them. Okay, and it's usually the modeling centers. Now, about the pre-EERIE simulations, as of now, we don't have much to do the analysis with, and many of the modeling groups like BSc are a bit lagging behind, but there are things that you can use that have similar resolutions, and in the kickoff meeting, I already presented this table, and we had identified in the table where you can find the data. So for example, the easier Primavera version at very high resolutions that is a bit resolving. We have all the basic Harrow-Smith experiments, and we are now in the process of loading them to the ESGF node. You won't find anything at the moment, but it will be there soon. Hadgen 3, GC31HH. You did your homework quite a long back, and it's already there. So this it's gonna be probably your reference experiment at the moment. You also have, I believe, one version that still has an unaided resolving ocean, but a high resolution atmosphere that you can also download. So if you want to increase the number of members available, that's something you can consider too. We'll check later on what's there in each case. That can be one of the exercises to do. Then we have the MPI, ESM. I never know if it's XR or ER, because there is an XR in the ES archive, but I believe that is not the same resolutions. But what that you can find through the DKRZ archive, and in the link here you can consult how to access the data. And then CSM, so this is from Anchor. They have different types of simulations, not all of them available through the ESGF nodes, but at least the 3 ones from Harrow-Smith you can find. And F-goals, F3H2, it's true, and that's also has everything available. So at the moment, we're gonna concentrate on this, and this one, because it's what we can access today. Okay. Let me continue. So now about the engines, the interfaces. You have here 2 screenshots. Those of you that have already been downloading CIMIC 5 or CIMIC 6 data will be familiar with this one on the left. There is a new one, and it's a beta version, but works quite well. And we'll talk about the benefits of this one. Yeah, they have the same information, but then they work differently. And yeah. I've highlighted here some potential advantage for each of them. I would say the classic one, well, is more consolidated because it's been there from CIMIC 5. So problems I'm sure that they will be fixed more or less. It should be more stable. And yeah, many of you might already know how it works. So for you might be better to go this route. This one, we'll see what I mean with this. Allows you to refine the searches through the filters and get the results more quickly and on the fly. So you click one, let's say you make one choice, and then it's gonna refine the database, and you're gonna be able to select in the rest of the filter with what it's already available. So it's gonna do some homework for you, and that can be useful, no? Because sometimes in this one you were refining, you were introducing different choices, and you didn't know what impact each of them would have unless you were doing it one by one. And here you will be able to see it on the fly. It's faster, more intuitive, you'll see. And also in terms of downloading data, my feeling is that it's making your life a little bit easier. Because when I've tried to do it through this one, I would find blocking points and many times, and there would be instances that I could get the data and download it easily, and other times in which I would have problems with the configuration. And my feeling is that this one works better, but we'll see in a little while. Okay, so my recommendation for new users is to go directly to this one. Because you'll be able to handle it much more easily. Now, filters. I try to. There are more ways, more items to filter the data, but I think this is the most important, and you might not all be familiar with them, so I'll go one by one. I wanted to introduce them first before we do the demonstration, so that when we do it, you already more or less know what I'm talking about. There is one filter that is the activity ID, and that's basically the identifier for the initiative that was done within CIMIC. We're still talking about CIMIC 6. So in our case, HiResMIC, that's clear. You might find some of the staple experiments, the so-called DEC experiments. You might want some of them, like the pre-industrial control or the historical. Those do not have a specific activity identifier, so for those ones, don't select anything here, because then you won't see them. There is a scenario meet also that you might want to check, and for that you can activate it here. There is also the option, if you know the experiments that you want, to simply disregard this one. I'm gonna jump to this experiment ID, because here basically you can refine and select only the experiments that you care about. No? So this is gonna narrow down this one, but if you know what you want, then you can come here directly. And HiResMIC, we have the control from 1950. I only put here the couple experiments, but there are more. And we can see later on which ones there are. The historical starting from 1950 and the future scenario. No? Then PI control would be the equivalent from the DEC. Historical would be the equivalent from the DEC as well. And then you could have your selected scenario SSP 585, for example, from the scenario MIP here as well. Okay, so I jumped from here to here. I'm gonna come back now to the nodes. I was saying before, anticipating that you don't need to care really, no? Because the data is mirrored, no? and it's usually duplicated. So if one of the nodes is down, then you can always access it, or there are more guarantees that you can access it. The only one we might care about is this 0.01, and that's because it's the data that is directly accessible from Jasmine. No? So if you're going to be running analysis in Jasmine, a way to check what data you have is to use any of the two interfaces and filter through the this data node. No? And then you'll see everything that should be there. That's the only instance I see in which you might care. There is the BSC one, no? But you're not going to be running the analysis at the BSC, so you shouldn't really care. No? I didn't even flag it here. Yeah, that's about the data node. Then you have the source ID, and these are the experiments we were mentioning before. I added this here because soon you'll have it. Today, I think we did a test. We uploaded just to do a test 1 year for one variable, and you can find it there, but that's it. So if you see, you filter, you might see this model, but you won't find anything useful. And there are other models, no? So you don't need to use all the filters. It's just you'll be able to play with this, and at least now here you know what you can go for. Okay, this one it has an asterisk because it might be useful, but it's not so much. It might be useful because it allows you to filter by the nominal resolution. And in the ocean, we know that around 10 kilometers, no, is what defines the eddy resolving regime. But it's not being well standardized. So in some models, this refers to the atmosphere, not the ocean. In some models, it's the other way around. So in the end, if you filter through this, you might be missing relevant experiments. No? The good thing is you know already which models you need to look for. No? So if you refine by high-res MIP, you still have models with lower resolution, which were done basically to assess the impact of the resolution. No? So just refining by this, you might not have what you need. But yeah, I make sure that you have the names here, and you have the tables in the table in the other side to ensure that you're selecting what you want. Then okay, we have the variant label, and this is just the identifier for the specific experiment. Well, now you have many identifiers, and you have the model, you have the experiment type, no? But then in many experiments, you have more than one member, and the way to distinguish them is through this variant. And for you, the only relevant is the R, because the R is the member, is the realization, let's say. And you'll always have an R1, and in some cases you have an R2, R3. I think in none of these cases you'll have more than an R1. But in EERIE, we aspire to have more than one. So eventually you'll need it. The A refers to the initialization, and it's only relevant for climate prediction experiments. So only one of these, this CPP. So you can already disregard it. P is physics, and it's because sometimes there is a change in the model, a small change in the model that affects the physics. And this is the way to tell the users that, for example, it might be that for the control there is a P, and for the it's not going to be the case, no? But for the control it's a P1, and a different type of experiment is a P2, and that's just warning the user they are not the same model. Be careful, okay? And F is for the forcing, and might be something similar. It might be that in principle all the forcings are the same in CMIP6. But it could be that they are read in a different way, or they use a different type of module to process them, and that can introduce also differences. No? So this is the other way to flag it. You won't need to care about this. I'm just saying it for completeness in the information, but yeah, you can disregard this because in your case you won't care. You'll have one member, and as soon as you identify it, then you won't need to refine through this. It is done sometimes, just to give you a context. This can be relevant when you're doing semi-6 analysis with many models. You might not be able to handle all the members that have been produced for each of the models. So the typical thing to do is just to get the first one, and so you have one realization per model, and at least you know that your sample is even. It's been done by many people, so that's one example. Then the grid label, what you only need to learn to distinguish these two. GN stands for native grid, and these are usually irregular grids in the ocean, and they can be tricky depending on what you want to do. You might need them absolutely, no? If you're computing budgets of energy, for example, you need them. For other simple analysis, the regridded one might be better because you don't need to care basically on how the regular grid is read, and this, for example, requires you to get additional data that refers to that would have the latitudinal and longitudinal information, also the latitudinal width and longitudinal width and other things, so that you can process the data correctly, and that's usually associated with this. But yeah, native, if you think that you need the original grids, then go for this and only this. If you don't care so much, then you go for the regridded because it's gonna be easier to handle. Then these two are a bit the same with some small differences. Maybe it's easier to explain this one first. This is the frequency of the output data. So it can be 3 hourly, 6 hourly, daily, monthly. I believe there is also yearly in some cases. And FX is fixed. It's, as I said, information on bathymetry is going to be the same always. It's not changing in time. So this is the way for you to identify it. If you add to this the information, in this one is the same, but you can also specify the realm that you're considering, which is here. So O would be ocean monthly, ocean daily, SI is sea ice daily, sea ice monthly, and if nothing is indicated, is the atmosphere. And there are more. We'll see them. It's not like I know all of them, but yeah, generally I believe that you'll be needing one of these, so it should be fine. You can filter by the realm as well, and this is straightforward. I don't think it needs any explanation. You can filter by the variable ID, and these are similar variables, so these are standard names. Some of them might be easy to guess, some of them might not. This is geopotential height, sealer pressure, precipitation, surface temperature, sea surface temperature, and this is potential temperature, 3D in the ocean, and so on. You can also filter by their standard name, and this is spelled out, but it's not always obvious to find it. And this sometimes is filtering is not refining precisely. You might have two variables that are related to it, and then you might need to further filtering. So the best thing is to make sure that you know which similar variable you need, and then to look for it. And yeah, that's it for the filters. Yeah, I think, well, before mentioning this was just a screenshot to show you how to access the metadata. we can just do an example. So I'm gonna start with the classic one. Let me know if you can see. I tried to share my whole screen, my whole desktop. Can you still see? Okay, good. Here you can enter text to filter through the text, but and that would search through all the possible instances, and it's not the most effective way to look for anything. As we were saying before, then here you click on activity and you can select whatever you want. High-res MIP, we were saying before, a scenario MIP, that's the other one we mentioned, and now we close it, no? And if we want to already filter and see what's left, we need to click on search. You see, this is not, super effective, no? Because every time you do something, then you need to click and wait, and then you have the search constraints here that you can remove, but it's slow. When you process all of this, is slow. Then source ID is the name of the model, as I mentioned before. Institution ID is the institution associated to the model, and I didn't include it because usually you go for the model, you don't care so much about the institution. But if you do, I mean, you can find here IPSL, you can find ABI, ECR consortium. So BSC is not there because we contribute through the ECR consortium, and so on. No? You can see all the big names, so it's easy to identify, but through this, you could refine and see which models they contribute with, for example, but that's it. So in case of doubt, for example, NCAR, which are the models from NCAR, then you can do this, and now you see how slow it is, and come back here and see the two models they have, no? Okay, let's say now we don't want this. So we need to click again and wait, okay, and come back to this. Okay, we had clicked on high-res MIP. There's still a lot of experiment of models here, you can see. So one way to narrow down the search is to say, okay, let's go for the control 1950 and see what we have left. Because many models were doing atmospheric only experiments, then we should have filtered them out, but still have quite a few of them. And it would have been really useful that this worked well. Let's give it a go. And see what we get. So you see F goals is there, HAT Gen 3 is there, but not the anchor model. CSM is not there. And that's because here, this is caring about the, I don't know why, it's looking at the atmosphere. I presume there is some specific parameter in the metadata that needs to be specified, and that is not directly linked to the atmosphere of the ocean. And each group might have assigned a different one. And anchor, they are running with 25 kilometers in the atmosphere, so it's not there. But that it doesn't mean that we don't have the data, no? So what we can do is, okay, now we know that these two we want. So we can unclick 10, click those two, and we'll see another problem of using this interface is that now we don't have access to the other models. So we've already made our choice here, and we cannot add anything else. No, so we will need to remove them. I'm not gonna do it because I don't think it's worth it. We do a similar exercise with the other interface, and we can just keep going. So we have two models. We have the experiment already selected. Super experiment, again, this is only relevant for climate predictions because they have different start dates, and they're indicated through this. The variant we see that is the one we were expecting, everything one. Grid label, okay, only native, and that's because producing regridding all of this would be a bit too much because we're talking about high resolutions, and in case of doubt, the native is always preferred. In the atmosphere, it tends to be a regular grid, so it's not a problem. But in the ocean, you might need this. And now, okay, we have the table. No? So let's say that we want to be tracking ocean eddies from daily sea surface height fields, no? So we can already filter ocean and daily here, and click search, so that when we go to the next one, it is refined. Frequency needs to be daily because we already, and the realm should be ocean. And now we can see which variables are there, no? And what we have is, okay, so we don't have the sea surface height, we have sea surface salinity and sea surface temperature. So let's say that we, and here, this number tells you how many instances we have, no? So if we select by this, we'll end up with only one. So this means that we had two models here, but only one of them has sea surface temperature, sea surface salinity, sorry. The two of them have sea surface temperature, and this is the square root of sea surface temperature. So I would say let's go for sea surface temperature. And now here we have the two models. So we have F goals and HADGEM. And you could list the files that are available in each case here. So you can just expand this and see how many are there. This is a control experiment, you know? So for low resolutions, there will be cases in which you have all the years available in a single file because it's not too heavy. In very high resolutions, most probably you'll have many individual files, you know, because otherwise it would be too big. And this is the case. You can see that there is one file per month. You know? So for the whole control, that's going to be quite a lot. There is an option to download them one by one through HTTP download or OpenDAP. These, for me, do not generally work very well. I was saying before that I had problems, and this not always work well. It is better, and I had a slide. If you want to download many different files, it's better to do it through wget script, and basically this is gonna be even to download this. It didn't like it. Okay. Yeah. I never liked this portal, this interface to get the data because there are always issues like this, no? But the idea is that this is generating a script that for a specific choice, no, is gonna allow you to download all in one go, all the related files in one go. But it's not through the terminal. Sorry, it's not through the web browser. It needs to be through a terminal in Linux, in Mac, and also in Windows, but you need a specific software. We'll see how this works, but with the other one. So yeah, I think this gives you already an idea, you know, how things work. You can check here, this can be good too, to see which nodes are providing this data that we have filtered. and I think it makes sense. See that for Hudgen, and then this one for F goals. Don't know exactly this where this is from. But yeah, you see that because these are very high resolution, it's very normal that they are only available in one node. Okay, so sometimes there is a maintenance and data for one node is not available. And this is just for you to know that this can happen. So maybe you're trying to download the data and you can't, but you just need to wait. Here is hard to know if there is a problem with the specific node. In the other interface, it will be much easier. So I think it's better to move to that one because you'll see that it's actually much easier to use. So now going to the MetaGrid interface. See, it's slim and it works quite easily. So in the end, we're going to have the same filters. I mean, the general categories might not be the same, but you'll find everything the same. And here there is an additional one that is about the transfer options. This is because some data is available through Globus, and Globus is I had a slide for that later on, but maybe I can explain. Globus is not you need that your institution has access through Globus, and if you have access through Globus, all the data that is available through Globus can be very easily downloaded. I cannot show how that works because at the BSc we are not in Globus, so I cannot show you. If it's your case, I'm sure that it'll be more or less straightforward because I believe that you can handle, from what Pierre-Antoine told me, you can handle many files at once, and also the transfer is much faster. So sorry, I cannot show you how that works. What you can do at least is to filter, and this you can at least I don't know how to do it in the interface, so that's already one thing that you win. You're gonna see also we're gonna see also that we don't need to filter through this because the information about its availability through Globus is gonna be included somewhere here. So let's replicate what we're doing before. We said we wanted a scenario, no, sorry, Iris Smith, no? So, no, sorry. Yeah, Iris Smith. So you see, in real time, has already made changes here. We can keep going, and we can go to the model. If you remember, we had CSN in the table. We had gem 3H8, and there was F goals somewhere, this one. So now they all been selected, and we can keep going. Again, resolutions, nothing relevant. The variant, we don't care anymore. And now here the data. So we can go for the same thing. So we can say, okay, or something else. Let's say, let's see what do we have daily in the atmosphere. So here now this number is telling us the number of cases now that have been selected. So we have many more than before, and we can see the variables, so quite a few of them. And yeah, the more you refine the search, the smaller numbers that you get. 11 doesn't mean that we have 11 simulations. It might be 11 files, and then some other thing is gonna narrow it down even more. So let's say that we want precipitation, okay? We can click on it, sorry. And then we can see, because it's only 13 instances, we can see what we get, no? Okay, and what I didn't filter, I forgot to filter, was the type of experiment. And now here we have quite a few of them. We have high-res SST present, and this is one of the atmospheric only experiments, as I may like. And we have present and future for F goals. And and what's the difference with this one? I'm not even sure, but let's say that we don't want that, no? So we come back to the experiment ID, and then we can go for, okay, control, there is only one. So this means that we only have one control experiment from the 3 models that is providing precipitation at daily scales. So let's see which one it is, no? We already filtered this way, and it's Hudgen, actually. I think that you'll have everything with Hudgen, and with the rest you'll need to be lucky. And now let's see what we have here. No? So it's good. We refined so much the search that we got to only one instance. This is telling us availability in the nodes. So right now, CIDA, it is in CIDA and it's there online. So we could download it now if we wanted. The total size, and this is something that we could find indirectly through the interface, but here we don't even need to make any effort. And also the number of files that are associated. And it makes sense because it's 101, so I believe we'll have one per year of simulation, we can see. Yeah, so it's 1950, 1951, so 101 years in the simulation. So yeah, here we can basically see the different files one by one. And if you want to download the data through the browser, you need to do it one by one. No? So you basically come here and click. And I don't know if you saw, but it's already downloading. It might take a while. Let's see here. Okay, so 4 minutes. Not bad because it's a big file, but imagine doing that for the 100 files. And this is just one variable and one model, no? So not very effective. Okay, I can close it. So what's the alternative? I was mentioning before the wget option. So here what we can do is we select it and we click here. And this is going to generate a script that we can run. And then it's going to do everything automatically, you know? So I'm going to show you basically how I would do it. I can't do it on my Mac because I haven't installed wget, but it's usually better to do it on the machine that you'll be hosting the data, if your institution allows you to do it. Sometimes you might need to do it through a login node or something, or a transfer node. Okay, but just identify the one you need, and you copy across the script, no? So in my case, is this one. Okay, this is the file that we were downloading, the big one, and this is the wget script, no? So I'm gonna move it across to my BSC account, and okay, that was quick. And now I'm gonna connect there. Okay, so I had done a test this morning here. But basically, there are two things that you need to do if you have wget. No? One is to activate it. So in my case, it's not by default, so I'm just activating it. And then you need to give the script execution rights. And then you run it. It is 16 here. And there is a trick that is having the -s option. Oh, one second. This is gonna bypass the security filters, so you don't need to identify, you don't need an OpenID account and anything like that. So then with this, okay, this is not working. I had tried with something else this morning. Okay, so I think it's telling me that to download from SIDA, I need this flag, maybe not the one I was using. Okay, so I think that, yeah, I need to check exactly what's happening. It might be that for data that it's in this specific node, you do need your OpenID account and all of that. And that means that you need to do it a bit differently. But I think I included the links in which you can basically consult all that information. So we'll check later. I can show you that it works in the other one that I tried this morning. And then we can see what's inside. And so you can see more or less what you can do with it. So let's see if this one works. Okay, yes. So you can see that now it's downloaded this one in particular. It's taking its time, but this is something you can leave working. And you can submit in the background and even leave the computer. And when you're back in the morning, you might have everything you need. No? I'm gonna stop because I don't want this data. But let's see what's inside, no? Because you don't need to understand everything, but you can at least see how to take advantage and manipulate it. So I believe this here, for example, is what allows you to already provide your OpenID if you have one account. And then it's gonna prompt and ask you for your password. No? So I believe this is the way to do it. I haven't tried myself because I didn't have the OpenID account. And then you see here the list of files. You know, basically, you have the list that you've produced before. If you, at some moment, you realize that you don't need those many years, you can just delete them. So let's say, okay, no. Or if you had already downloaded a few of them, you could say, okay, I'm gonna take out all of this, and then you can run it with the rest. No? So this is something you can configure. You should be able to add more. So if you had different wget scripts, you could combine them. maybe it's better not to, so that you can run things in parallel, but it's up to you. You could do it. Yeah, and in this way you automatize and you can get everything in a more accessible way. That was the example itself. And I think I can come back now to the presentation, because I didn't realize that the time flies. It's already 5 to 5 here, 4 in the UK. And yeah. Okay, metadata. This might be good. There are different ways to access it. Here, once you have the file, then you can click in this tab and then you're gonna see everything in one go. And here is different. So let me come back. You need first to open and see all the files that are available, and then you can check the metadata here, and here you have basically everything that you need to know, from the grid descriptions to the nominal resolutions to the type of experiment to the variant. So everything that you use in the filters should be here, because this is the way the data has been provided to the file in order to identify it here in the portal. And you can also find the information on how to cite the data, which is also very important. And yeah, other things related to the specific file that you're downloading. Okay, now coming back here, yeah, I had put this here together mostly so you have it as a support. You don't need to listen to the whole video to get the relevant information. And yeah, this was the trick I was mentioning before, using the -S to bypass this security check. And here is where I got the relevant information, things that I thought I want to check, like an user guide that is already there on how to download the data, and it's explaining you both for the browser and option, and also the use of the wget scripts and what you need to do. For example, if you need to open an OpenID account, it's also explaining how to do it. And then here you have an overview to the different initiatives, so you can learn more about the specific experiments. And this is an archive providing statistics on, yeah, maybe it's actually worth having a look at it, of the models that have contributed to the different activities, and basically the amount of different files that have been produced. So you would see the most popular initiatives. CIMIP, I believe, is the deck. And then yeah, all the other things. So it might be relevant, for example, if you want to see if the model that you are analyzing or are interested in has been used for detection attribution, no? For example, in some cases it might be relevant if we want to see the impact of the forces. No? So you can consult it here. And yeah, that's it. I didn't give you the chance to give me feedback, but I think we can use a few minutes in case you have doubts or questions to answer them.
Thank you very much, Pablo. That's great. Yeah, that's really helpful to kind of get a bit of an overview of the search and other things. I've not used the new search before, so that I always was frustrated with the old search. That looks like a big improvement on how to do things. So yeah. So do we know, is that going to become the default for CMIP going forward, or is that?
It's only installed on one node.
Okay. Okay. Right. Oh, yeah, that's a definite upgrade on the old search.
There is one thing that I haven't figured out how to do, and probably it can be done, is to make searches that tell you how to say, let's say you're interested in 3 variables, and it gives you only the filter is making sure that the variables are available. So let's say that you want to look at surface temperature, salinity, and time, and you need for all the models. You want to make sure that you choose models that have everything. I haven't found a way to that 3 of them are always selected. It's gonna tell you models that have one or another of the 3 of them.
Right.
So yeah, that might be a problem. For example, if you want to make sure that the 3 or 4 models will be available, have everything you need for your analysis, you need to go one by one.
Yeah.
It might be possible. They haven't found a way.
Yes.
With Pierre-Antoine, we produce scripts that allow you to do this indirectly, but not through the portal.
Right. Does anyone have a question? Maybe not. So thank you again. So I'm hoping whoever managed to start the recording can put the recording maybe in our Google Drive or something and point the project team to it, because I think we've got the other science hours on the website. So and I guess, Pablo, did you already share the slides with Apache 2? Okay.
They already uploaded.
Okay. Oh, brilliant. Okay. Cool. Right.
But the video might be more useful.
Yes. Yes.
Either way, they know it's me, so they can contact me.
Hopefully one of our German-speaking friends can do the business there. And then I believe that Nikolai is going to talk to us next month about something. It was about the your data, right?
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
And now maybe even better. So it's going to be preparation for all the lessons. That's the idea.
Okay. Great. So look forward to that. Thank you again, Pablo. It's been great.
Thank you.
See you all.
Bye bye.
Okay. Right. Thanks. Bye. Bye.